I have spent my entire life running enthusiastically in the wrong direction. Or maybe it's more appropriate to say I've spent my entire life running in every direction. And as a result, I haven't gotten very far in any particular pursuit. If you relate to this feeling, then this video is for you. By the way, my name is Karen McGill. I am an ADHD coach and I help busy, ambitious brains focus and run enthusiastically in the right direction. So if that sounds like something that you would love, then keep listening. So I recently had a birthday, and that's why I think this whole quote really just felt so personal to me because I'm no spring chicken. And yet I feel like I've spent my entire life just sort of running in a variety of different directions without making a ton of progress in any one direction. Or at least that's the way I thought things were. In retrospect, I realized that that's not the case. And that's really the takeaway for today's video. There's this great Steve Jobs quote that you've probably heard before, but it's worth repeating. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. So I thought that was a great way to start off this video because really in retrospect, I've spent a lot of energy doing things that haven't felt like they've amounted to much and spent a lot of time in overwhelm and burnout. But now at this stage in my life, a lot of it's starting to become more clear. And sure, there are directions I've run in that have led to nowhere, but there's also been a lot of serendipitous directions that have now started to make a lot more sense, just like the Jobs quote. But this resonates with you and your life, instead of feeling like a linear point A to point B, looks more like, that virus emoji that we all have been using for the past couple of years where it's like your brain and then there's a million different things sticking out of it, and that's our attention span. If that feels like you and you felt a little bit frustrated, I think my first question that I would ask you is, are you actually moving towards something? Is there one thing in particular that stands out that you've been trying to go after? And if you do have something that you're trying to get to, but you don't feel like you're making enough headway, then you might want to look at all of those other little extraneous directions that you're running in and think about where you can start to eliminate those distractions. Because the more energy you can pull into your central focus, the further you're gonna go. I think that's pretty obvious, but very often because we're just so distracted by new and interesting things, we end up getting derailed a lot. Now, if you do find that you're getting derailed an awful lot, the next question I would ask you is, are you going after something because you should or because you want to? Because those are very, very different things. And I have learned this lesson the hard way and the long way. I've spent my entire life running after shoulds. I should do this because people will think I'm smart. I should do this because maybe I'll be successful. I should do this because I don't know, everybody else is doing it. I've done that a lot in my life, and whenever I've done it based on a should, also knowing that whatever it is probably isn't what I wanna do or that I'm not really interested in, but I'm doing it for some extrinsic reason, it's never really panned out for me. But when I think about all of the things that I've done for intrinsic reasons, so based on interest, or this looks really cool, or I have no idea how I'm going to use this, but I just need to do it. Those are the dots that are starting to make more sense in retrospect. So let me give you an example. When I was a kid, the thing that I loved doing the most is getting a tape recorder, because again, I'm no spring chicken, and recording interviews where I'm the interviewer and the interviewee. And I would just talk into this recorder and then play it back. And I could like entertain myself doing that for hours. I also love to do shows in my backyard. I've always felt like a bit of a performer, but acting never really appealed to me enough to go in that direction. But podcasting, creating videos, you better believe that's something that I love doing. Then, as I went through school, I was a really bad student and I dropped out of high school. But then I went back and I got a college diploma and then I ended up in university. And when I went to university, I thought that doing Spanish and environmental studies was a good thing to do because I like the environment and I wanted to potentially go to law school. So I should start doing something that would be aligned to those things. And really, had I had the life experience I have now, I would have told myself, don't do law, don't do Spanish, and don't do environmental studies because even though the environment is very important to me, I don't want to study dirt and rocks and those sort of things. So when I got accepted into an environmental studies program and I had to pick rock 101 and dirt 101, I realized this was not what I wanted to do. I was more interested in the electives like psychology 101, sociology. I was way more interested in the brain and behavior. And I ended up after changing my major about 7 different times because ADHD, I ended up landing on psychology as a major and I really, really loved it. And I thought maybe I should become a psychologist. But I spoke to one of my professors who was a psychologist and he said to me, Karen, don't do that because you'll end up listening to people's problems all day. And that's not fun. Get into marketing instead. So instead of listening to what was in my heart and what was appealing to me, I said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. And that's exactly what I did. And you know what? Marketing served me well. And in retrospect, he was probably right in the sense I'm a very sensitive person. So dealing with people that had mental illness would have been really hard for me. But as a coach, I get to take people who want to grow and evolve and develop and take them from good to great. And I partner with them. There's no pathology or anything like that, but I do get to deal with human behavior and learning what makes people tick and helping them become more self aware and powerful in their own right. So, in retrospect, I probably took the right route, but it took me a lot longer to get there. The other thing that I've done over the course of my career is taken so many educational courses in wellness and fitness. I've never wanted to be a personal trainer. I've never wanted to have a job where I had to show up at 12 o'clock to teach a class, but I have so many certifications in yoga and group fitness and personal training and diet and exercise. And I've done all of them because I've just been fascinated with them. And for some reason, I knew they would be a good tool in my toolbox, even though I knew I didn't want to work at a gym. And now today, I use all of that knowledge with my clients because, especially with a lot of my clients being women in their 40s and 50s with late diagnosed ADHD, exercise and nutrition is so important to keeping your brain sharp and your attention focused. So, all of those things have started to come back and really served me. So, my long story short is when I followed my gut and went after the things that were interesting to me, they may have not have made sense in the moment, but in retrospect, I'm using all of those things in my current career. And I honestly could not be happier than where I am right now. So I'm finally running enthusiastically in the right direction. It just took me a lot of trial and error and just collecting tools along the way until some point where it actually made sense. So I share all of that because I hear from a lot of you in the comments that you're frustrated that you're trying different things, but you get tired of them and you get bored of them and you move on. And I want to say that that's just part of life. And experimenting with life is trying new things and seeing if it works for you. Like you are literally trying things on so that you can either keep them in your toolbox or say, you know what, that's not for me. And it makes you the interesting person that you are. And a lot of those things that you try will eventually come around and be incredibly useful when you find your thing or your two or three things, because we don't often have just one thing that interests us in life. So, coming back to this idea about focusing your energy on something, like have a direction, make sure it's not just a should, it's something that lights you up, but also have a plan and a strategy to get there. I have also been very guilty of having ideas in my head of things I want to do, but I'm not actively putting these things on my calendar and they're not showing up on my to-do list and my discretionary spending is not going in those directions. You can't really just assume something's going to happen one day, materialize out of the sky unless you're actually planning for it daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. And I've got all kinds of videos on planning your day, week, month, year so that you can actually manifest these things in a real and concrete way. Because here's the thing, if you're not planning your life, you're living by default and you really want to live by design. So make a plan, have a direction, even if it's just a loose direction of where you want to go, be open to trying different things along the way and trust that at some point it's all going to make sense. And trust me, at some point it will. So that's what I've got for you today. I hope that was super helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, subscribe, and join me on my podcast. Every Friday, I share a new episode with busy, ambitious brains that want to take better care of themselves and be more focused and productive. So join me over there, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.